Okay, hello everyone. So this lesson is an introduction to orthographic projection. We're going to look at how we complete views in orthographic projection. We're also going to look at where these views need to be located. And we're also going to practice our sketching technique as well. So to complete orthographic views of an object, first of all, we need an object. So we're going to start with something relatively basic. So it's a cuboid with a little piece that has been removed and it looks like a step. So the first thing I want you to do is to sketch an object yourself. So this is going to be a little bit of revision of isometric sketch. And we're going to sketch that over here to the right of our page. So we want to leave lots of space here to complete our orthographic views. And we position our 3D object here. Okay, so let's have a go at sketching this in isometric first of all. So we're going to start off, as we start every isometric sketch, with the principal axis. And I'm going to make the principal axis equal to the height of this object and the sides then in proportion with this item here as well. So vertical line and then two lines at 30 degrees, one towards the right, one towards the left. Okay, by the way, I'm using just a HB pencil here, so I recommend using a soft pencil, a pencil that you can create light lines and darker lines with. So it saves you switching pencils, so leaning very lightly on it for light lines and heavily on it for darker lines. So I'm drawing all these lines in nice and light first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build up a crate, and that's going to enclose the overall shape first of all. Okay, so vertical line over here too. Okay, this line being parallel to the line on the principal axis. And then finishing out our crate at that back edge there. Okay, so you can see the way I've ran on that line a little bit. I'm not too concerned about that line being longer than it needs to be. I'm more concerned about getting the edges parallel to each other and sketching a nice, a well-shaped cuboid. Okay, so it's a kind of a step shape, so I'm going to just draw in each edge here. So if the edge comes back here, then we go up a little bit. So nice and light still. You also have a line that goes across there somewhere, about there. Vertical line. Okay, and I'm just going to connect or draw in that top edge here. So I can see now an outline of the shape. And what I'm going to do just to finish it off is I'm going to go over that. Now I can use the pencil again, so just leaning a little bit harder on the same pencil like that, and then creating these darker lines. Okay, because I want it to stand out. So I haven't switched pencils or anything. Now you can switch pencils if you like. I'm just leaning that little bit heavier on it. We should get the outline of this step shape to stand out a little on our page. Okay, trying to keep those lines as straight as possible. And remember, this is a sketch, so please don't use a ruler. Okay, the whole idea is to build up your skill in sketching. Okay, so there we have it. There's our 3D object. Now we're going to draw the orthographic views next. So a quick recap in orthographic projection. Orthographic projection is a way of representing three-dimensional objects in 2D. Okay, now if you remember from our slides in Google Classroom, we have three views and they are called the front elevation, the plan view and the end or the side elevation. So the next step is to determine, well, which view are we going to call the front elevation, which one is the side or the end elevation, and which one is the plan. So what I'm going to do here next of all is I'm taking 3 different colours, and I'm going to colour in the surfaces on this object that represent what we would see if viewing it from different positions or perspectives. Okay, so if, for example, I was looking in at this side that I'm shading in blue, and if I were to draw the object in 2D, this is the side I would see. Okay, so I'm just going to colour it in quickly in blue there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw in a little eyeball here. So I like to use this thing. So there's me, and I'm looking in this direction. I'm looking in at this step object. So if I were to suggest to you that you were in this viewing position here, well, I'll call it viewing position A, and you were looking in that direction, and I asked you to draw a 2D view of this step, you would see this blue surface. Okay. Now, can you determine what you would see if you were in this position looking in at it? So we'll call this B. So I'll draw in another eyeball here. We'll call it B. Alright. What surfaces would you see? Would you see the top? Or would you see this surface? Well, we'd see this surface. Would I see any other surface? Well, I'm going to see the surfaces that are facing me. So if I'm out here looking in this direction, I'm definitely going to see this surface here that I'm going to colour in here in pink. Okay. I'd also see this surface up here. Okay. So I have 2 surfaces left, and where do I need to be positioned, or where do I need to be looking at them from to see them? Well, I'd need to be up above the entire object, so all the way up here. I'll draw in my eyeball again, looking down on it, and I call this C. And I'm going to take my green colouring pencil here, and I'm just going to colour in all the surfaces I would see if I were up above looking down on it. So I'd see all the top surfaces. So I'd see this surface, and I would see the surface underneath. Alright, okay, so that's that. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is I need to represent all these views, A, B and C, in 2D over here. And that's called orthographic projection. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here, everybody, is I'm going to say that this side here in blue will be the front. Okay, this is going to be the side view, and this will be the plan up above. So I need to sketch each view. Now remember, we're not using any drawing equipment. We're going to sketch the 2D views. We want to try and keep the proportion the same. So I'm going to start with the front elevation. Okay, so I'm calling this the front elevation. This is what I see from the front, this surface in blue. And remember, it's 2D. So a 2D view of what I see from viewing position A. So trying to keep the proportion as best I can. Proportion meaning size, widths and heights, to represent as accurately as I can the 3D image. Okay, so I might just heavy that in a little bit, like so. down like that, across. Alright, so I'm going to call that my front elevation. So underneath, in block capitals, I'm labeling that the front elevation. Okay, I'm going to draw the plan view next. And the plan view represents everything I would see if I were up above looking down on it. So I'm skipping B for a moment, I'm going to go straight to C. So what do I see if I'm up above looking down? I would see these surfaces in green. So guys, what I'm going to do is, to ensure that the proportion is kept the same, and the width of the object should be the same, I'm going to just ghost down two little lines like that, vertically down. And I'm going to use them to make sure that the width in plan is the same as the width in elevation. So I'm going to skip a space between the elevation and plan, and I'm going to draw in the outline. Okay, so sketching in the outline first of all. Alright, like so. Now, that's the outline in plan. But I know that there are two green surfaces. One is higher than the other. And they're separated by this line here, this edge along here. So I need to show that in plan. And how do I know where it goes? Well, I can find that edge, here it is here in my elevation. And if I drop a line straight down like that, it determines the location for that edge that represents the change in height of those surfaces. Okay? Now remember, the object doesn't move. The person looking at it moves. Okay? So here's the high edge, or the highest surface in green in elevation. So it should be directly underneath it in plan. Here's the lower surface, and there's the lower surface there. So the plan has to be directly underneath the elevation. We don't turn it around. The width must be the exact same. So this width in elevation must be the same as that width there. And I'm going to label that plan view. And lastly, we need to draw in our end elevation, and that's everything we would see if we were in this position B looking in at it. Now our end elevation must be on the same baseline as our front elevation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly extend the base of the front elevation out to the right like that. Okay, so I know my end elevation must sit here. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to draw the overall height of the end elevation, and I know the height of my end elevation, it must be the same as the height of my front elevation because it's the same object. So I'm just going to ghost another line from front elevation across, and I'm going to keep the same space that I kept between my front elevation and plan, so approximately the same space. So we start out here, vertical line. Remember, keeping the proportion the same. Okay, so the width here should be the same as the width in plan. Okay, that's the overall height. And again, we have this surface that's closer to us in pink than that one there. And I can see that surface here and here in front elevation. So again, I'm going to ghost across a line to represent this edge. Okay, and this edge here represents the difference in the depth of this surface. Okay, so if I call that one X and that one Y, that's both those surfaces here in my orthographic view, in my end elevation. And of course I'm going to label this end elevation. Okay, and the last thing I want to do here, everybody, is I want to color coordinate each of the views just to help me with my visualization. Okay, so I'm just going to do this really quickly. There's my front elevation in blue. So that's everything I can see from the viewing position A. Okay, so I'm just really quickly shading this in. And my plan view is everything I can see as if I were up above looking down at it. Oh, that's the surfaces in green. Okay, so I'm just really quickly colouring these in. And then lastly, the end elevation, everything I can see in pink. Okay, so the reason we're colouring it, we're colour coordinating just to help us with our visualization of the surfaces and where they appear in the orthographic views. Okay, so my front elevation, everything I can see as if I were here at A, looking in at it. The plan view, if I were here at C, if I was up above looking down, and the end elevation, if I here at B, looking in at the side. So I might just label here A, the plan view then is C, and the end elevation B. Okay, so it's important that our views appear in the correct location, with the plan view directly underneath the front elevation and the end elevation to one side of the front elevation, keeping the heights the same between end elevation and front elevation, and the widths the same between front elevation and plan.